you.
Now, if I asked you to picture an Iranian woman, I suspect many people might come up with the stereotypical images behind me. In one sense, it's accurate, but only tells a fraction of the story in a country rich in culture, history, education, and crucially, activism among women. The book, Jewels of Allah, and that's the front cover, looks to challenge those stereotypes and has just won the 2016 International Book Award in Women's Issues. We'll talk to the author and historian Nina Ansary in just a moment. First, though, let me just show you the rather clever way the book was promoted.
What if I told you that I was the only firefighter in my hometown?
What if I told you that I won my nation's first ever motocross?
What if I told you I won a gold medal in the Paralympic Games?
They strangled me with a silk scarf, threw me into a garden well, and filled it with stones and soil.
If I told you that, would you believe that I'm a woman from Iran?
I'm a woman from Iran.
I am a woman from Iran.
I'm a woman from Iran. I'm often quoted as having said, "You can kill me as soon as you like, but you cannot stop the emancipation of women."
Well, I'm delighted to say that Nina Ansary is here with me, the promotional material in the book, and it was very, very clever promotion because just about every time one of the contributors spoke, I thought to myself, well, I had no idea about that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Well, that's exactly the premise of the book, is that when you go back in Iran's history, you see where we started off as a nation is not where we ended up, meaning pre-Islamic Iran had women who were by 21st century standards even more advanced. Back then we had female commanders, women who ruled over the vast Persian Empire. So that is really the essence of the Iranian woman.
Yes, tell me more about that. I mean, we'll get to where we are today in a moment or two, but I mean, you're a historian. Pre-Iranian Revolution, tell me a little more about the place women had within society.
It was the Pahlavi monarchy that emancipated the woman after centuries of seclusion. Iranian women were given the right to vote. They were really active in many fields prior to the Islamic Revolution. But you have to realize what the Shah and his family did, which was very much an overnight motion towards a westernized society after centuries of Islamic rule, really was understood and embraced by a very small percentage of women who took advantage of the educational infrastructure that was embedded, who took advantage of all the freedoms afforded to women during the Pahlavi era, and really not understood or embraced by a large traditional constituency.
And so you had the revolution. I mean, it's such a highly complex picture. I mean, it's highly educated, so much culture of the country. I mean, just remind our viewers, after the revolution, what were women no longer permitted to do?
A whole plethora of laws embedded in the Islamic constitution. Women were no longer allowed to serve as judges. Women cannot run for presidency. A woman's life is literally worth half that of a man's. A woman's testimony in court is worth half that of a man's. The Islamic Republic literally, on the one hand, hails women as custodians of the private sphere and hails them as wives and mothers, yet defrauds them in child custody cases. A woman is not allowed to leave the country without her husband's permission, or even undertake certain professions if her husband deems it incompatible with her role at home.
I want to show viewers just some pictures of an official fashion show from Tehran, because I think we have them, because they contrast so dramatically with the news of only a fortnight ago of models online who, of course, had cut their hair, wore makeup, and they were arrested.
That's right.
And their Instagram accounts shut down.
Right.
The power of the moral police is still very much there, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But that being said, the Iranian women are very resilient. They find ways to dodge the morality police. This that you mentioned, which is the cutting of the hair, is women's way of going out into the public and not having to wear the veil. They use social media as a way to push the boundaries. They pay a high price and a high penalty for what they do, but the important premise is they keep moving forward.
Tell me more about how strong the activism actually is, and actually how people manage to be active, given all the things we've just been talking about?
The activism is pretty high. Women's rights activists do suffer harsh penalties. They go in, they come out. Social media is a very, very important tool for disseminating this kind of information on the outside.
But secretly done?
Well,
predominantly?
For those of us on the outside, if we can give these women a voice, it makes a huge difference. Just recently, Natalie Ratcliffe was arrested. Her husband has taken to David Cameron, asked for help. Her family is on Twitter live tweeting her condition, the fact that she's being kept under for no reason, apparently. These things are important for us on the outside to give these women a voice.
And given all of what you've been going through and the obvious difficulties, the obvious constraints, how do you then explain what we started with in our piece of all of those tremendous advances that we've seen in the country for women?
Well, there's not, can I correct you? It's not tremendous advances. Women are highly educated in Iran. That is, they're not banned from getting an education. Any advancement made is through their ongoing activism. It is very small changes they have been accomplishing, but that being said, they really serve as role models for so many women in other oppressed societies, meaning it's not huge accomplishments, it's one small step at a time, but nevertheless, they are making strides.
And we've seen, just in the last 6 months even, the West embracing Iran, bringing it in from the cold. I mean, what are your hopes of what they'll actually do for women in Iran, given things like sanctions and all of that?
You're talking about the nuclear deal.
Yes, and just the ability to ease sanctions, to actually entertain Iran back with the rest
within
of
the international community.
Yes.
You know, my hope is that the nuclear deal will bring Iran out of isolation, only for the hopes of it having a multiplier effect, meaning that the Iranian population at large has suffered needlessly because of this regime, an oppressive regime for over 37 years. My hope is that once the doors open, that Iran will be held accountable for its human rights trespasses. This regime has been thriving in isolation, undertaking its atrocities specifically towards women, specifically towards the Baha'i community. So my hope is that this young population is very much desperate for normality and change, and my biggest hope is that this deal will somehow lead to breathing life into the people of Iran.
Well, it's fascinating talking to you, Nina Ansary. Thank you so much for coming in to be on the programme with us.